Welcome to the first session of iOS or Android. My name is Tim, and I'm one of the CodePath co-founders. To give you a bit of background on CodePath, we've been around for 7 years. We're a nonprofit, and we got our start training senior engineers at companies like Facebook, Airbnb, Lyft, Netflix, and dozens of other Silicon Valley companies. Since our start, we've trained thousands of engineers, and we've helped hundreds of engineers find new jobs. And so we're very excited to be able to bring our program to universities. And a key part of that, and I want to call out our tech fellows. They've been working for weeks to do the projects ahead of time. They've been meeting with us to figure out how to run the sessions and facilitate this course. So we really appreciate their help. We couldn't have come to your campus without their efforts. So thank you very much, tech fellows. I wanted to chat about a couple things with you. I wanted to chat about our CodePath alumni services, and I also wanted to chat about a little bit about how this course works, although the tech fellows are going to go into more detail about it. And before I get into that, though, I want to kind of take a step back and tell you a little bit about what we are observing with tech jobs and hiring trends. Hopefully you find this information useful. So first, it's an amazing time to be in tech. There are a lot of jobs. And one thing to know is, like, you may have heard of all of the different areas. You can work in robotics, you can build operating systems, you can build computer languages, you can work in data science, AI. But one thing to know as you're thinking about planning your career is that the majority of jobs by far are in somewhere in the web stack or in application development. So application development is web, mobile, and desktop, and it's kind of like in that order. So that's an important thing to invest a little bit in, just because of the sheer number of jobs, unless you decide to specialize in a particular different area. So that's one of the reasons that we introduced mobile. Now, it's a great time, like I said, in tech. There are a ton of jobs, and tech jobs are pretty sweet. So you may know this already, but if you're working in a major tech city, right out the gate, right after graduation, you're probably making six figures. A few years into a mobile career, and you're making between 125 to 150. So compensation's pretty good. The problems are really interesting. The modern engineer is a lot different from engineers 10 years ago. It's very collaborative. You're going to be working with a lot of other engineers, product managers, designers to ship your product, and it's pretty fun. There's a lot of autonomy and trust in the engineering ecosystem. So there's no 8 to 5 or 9 to 5. Engineers kind of, as long as you get your job done, there's a lot of trust in engineers. So it's a pretty nice gig. One thing that comes along with that is, in fact, one trend that's pretty common is remote work, if that's something that you're interested in. So typically you need to be a little bit more senior, but like a few years in, several years in. But if you like, you can even work remotely. I know a lot of people who they travel the world and work for some company remotely, or maybe for some reason you want to live in a smaller city that's maybe closer to your family or cheaper, and that's also a common trend too. So that's another thing about tech right now. So here's something that's interesting that's happened in the last 5 years. There's been a major shift in how people are thinking about hiring. So schools and school brand names don't matter as much. GPAs don't matter as much. And so it's a really interesting time, because what they really care about is your ability to demonstrate that you have the potential and the skills. And so therefore, two things, if you're interested in this career, become very important. So one, and maybe this is already on your radar, but one is preparing for that algorithm interview. I mean, I love the other classes that you do in computer science. I find them very interesting, but the algorithm interview really only tests the data structures and algorithms class that you have. And so all of those kind of leak code questions or whatever you're using to practice, those are incredibly essential. And so we have this really effective interview prep summer class that is free for students. All of our programs are free for students. It's a very rigorous program, but we can take you from where you are now to where you need to be in order to pass the technical interview. So the second thing that you need in kind of to get one of these jobs is you need some kind of domain experience. So more and more they're looking for students that already come preloaded with web or mobile experience on the job. And so some companies will actually interview just based on mobile, which is great. Others will use the standard algorithm interview, which is also nice because it's kind of like a master key to get into like a bunch of companies. So now you may find something challenging right now, which is if you've been applying for internships, maybe you aren't hearing back, or maybe you're getting the interview, but you're not getting the offer. And so this gets into our CodePath alumni services that we're very excited about, that we've been working on for the past year. It's been going really well. So 80% of CodePath University students get summer internships before their senior year. So that's an outcome that's really important, because once you have an internship, then it becomes much easier to get a full-time job. So the things that we have is we have that summer interview prep class. So you should definitely sign up for that if you're interested. The second thing that we have for alumni is that we have a career center where we have a career counselor. They help you fix up your resume, even if you don't have a lot of experience, fix up your resume, fix up your LinkedIn. We have something that's very interesting that's called a virtual career fair. So the virtual career fair is where we bring dozens of companies, and it's guaranteed interviews as long as you can pass our assessment of your algorithm readiness. And so as long as you take our class, or you can assess into it as well, then you can get guaranteed interviews. That's a huge value. So just as a reminder, this is an alumni service only. So this is one more reason for you to finish this course or one of our other courses. So you have to attend the sessions as well as complete the projects, and then you have access to our alumni services. So let's switch gears. Let's talk about the actual class. So the class is super fun. This is an iOS and Android class, so it's very hands-on. It's project-based. It's very maybe atypical of your classes because we kind of have a different teaching approach. So we don't do lectures. We don't have lecture videos per se, but we do have projects. And so we have 6 weeks of projects, and the Tech Fellows are going to talk about this in a second. And that's really going to be the vehicle by which you're going to learn. And so the thing that I want to talk about is how to succeed in these projects, or at least one major pitfall that I want you to avoid. So something will happen in iOS and Android very frequently, in fact, in all of engineering, but you're going to get stuck for 6 hours on something that's going to be like a one-line fix, or even worse, it's going to be something mysterious like you have to restart Android Studio, you have to restart Xcode. That actually happens. And that is the worst. That is a total waste of 6 hours of time. And so one thing that we want you to do is we want you to kind of learn this effectively. And one way to learn it effectively is you have to get over this thing where you don't want to reach out for help. So one thing that we like to tell people is 30 minutes is the max amount of time that you should be kind of struggling. And if you are in that position, that you should immediately be reaching out to help to your tech fellows or to the discussion systems that we're monitoring and that we have people staffed to answer your questions. So it only works if you leverage that system, and the signal that is like if you are stuck for 30 minutes, then that is the time for you to be reaching out for that help. So that's I'll leave the rest of it for the tech fellows, but that's the thing that I want you to remember for this class, which is the fact that you should reach out and access those help systems. Now, one final note that I have, which is CodePath is a nonprofit. We have been able to be successful only because we have the help of all of our alumni, and it's something that I would love to invite you into our community. So our community is about people who are passionate about learning. We offer all kinds of new courses all the time for our university students, for our professional engineers. And so CodePath is about being passionate about learning. And it's also about being passionate about helping others learn. And so that's something that, think about in the back of your mind, that this is the part of the value system of the community that we're trying to build. It's powered by dozens of volunteers at any given point in time, trying to give back because they found some value from it, because they were able to get a job through us or for whatever reason. So I like to call CodePath the nerd Illuminati, and we hope that's the network that's there for you, and something that you can participate in. And so if you're part of CodePath, then you can always reach out to CodePath alumni at companies and that you're interested in, maybe get some advice, or you can also feel free to ask for a referral, and maybe you can help out a future student or a future CodePath engineer as well once you're in that position. So just something to think about. It's the community that we're very excited about building. Well, without any further ado, I'll turn you back over to the Tech Fellows for them to finish overviewing the class.